everybody, and welcome to my office. This is where I've basically been doing the show from for the last 3 hours, and where I spend most of my day in actual fact, but it is definitely not a bad place to be. Here are all the screens that I use to show you all the river cam stuff, and I have the controller with me here. This is the joystick that I use to move all the river cams around. And then in the back you can see James's vast collection of artifacts and memorabilia. We've got a bunch of photographs over here taken off of some websites from travelers that have been through East Africa and who, in the very early days of travel, used to describe what they used to see, used to describe the Mara River, used to describe the migration, and of course tried to draw the animals, these fantastic animals that they saw, and needed to describe to the Western world when they got back from all their travels. This, let me just get my hands right, other way, over there in the top side over there are milk gourds. That is what the Maasai warriors used to collect their milk in. Now, of course, Maasai warriors, when they are growing up, when they're adolescents and before they start a family between 16 years old and 25 years old, live on nothing except for blood and milk. Now, what we're going to be doing is, in a bit, we're going to be playing you some playbacks that I want to show you while everyone else is getting ready for the evening. But those milk gourds, basically, those ones, I can't get my hands right, but these ones here in the corner over there, they shoot an arrow into a cow's jugular artery. They then fill the milk gourd with half blood, half milk, shake it up, and drink it. And that is all these warriors live on for 10 years. Can you believe it? All right, we have got a playback to show you while my comrades and friends get ready for the evening. And so we're going to do that, and then I'll narrate over it and show you what we saw at some point over here. So let's have a look and see what that looks like. And we're going to be going to it right now. How amazing was that? Those were two different crossings. I know that the banner there said earlier this week, but they've been happening over the last couple of weeks. It was just a bit of a slip of a banner button that came off there, but two different crossings. What was very interesting, and in both cases, the zebra managed to escape. The first zebra, which had been caught by the tail by a crocodile, managed to get its feet under it, and through just a great sheer effort, pushed off of the ground. The tail actually snapped off, and the crocodile was left just with a mouthful of tail, and the zebra walked off with a stinging bottom, I'm sure, but with nothing else much wrong with it. The second crossing, the one that was coming towards us, not away from us, had a crocodile lying in the rapids where a young foal managed to walk up to the crocodile, right next to the crocodile, and walked over it. Now today, while we were looking at the show, we had a crocodile, we were discussing binocular vision, and I think what happened over there was that foal ended up walking behind the crocodile's line of sight. It was focused on other zebra. All of a sudden, this foal came out of nowhere and tripped over it. And if you were to be caught by a crocodile, and since I've watched that crossing, I've thought of very little else. If I were to cross over a rapid and there were some crocodiles lying there, where would I most likely cross? Well, I'll tell you what I'd first like to do is cross when it's coldest. I think I'd choose the coldest, chilliest part of the day when crocodiles are all not doing much, and I'd cross then. I'd then sprint from a hidden position as fast as what I could and make it across an area where I could wade through the water in as shallow a depth as I can. And secondly, if there was a crocodile lying there, I absolutely wouldn't get near its business end. I would try and aim for just behind its body, across its body. They don't seem to like that. And on all the crossings that we've seen over the last couple of weeks and days, zebra generally tend to make it when they go over the back of the crocodile, not anywhere near that snappy mouth, which can spin from side to side and snap at those animals. And so those were two just lucky crossings. Today, unfortunately, we watched a crossing where the zebra wasn't so lucky, and it was a sad thing. But let's carry on with all James's artifacts. So those milk gourds that you are seeing there, they basically are used by the Maasai warriors, like I said, who will eat nothing but milk and blood for 10 years while they'd wander through Maasai land, as they call it, and protect the family and the tribal homes. Next to it is a rolled up sleeping mat. That is a mat made from the skin of a cow, and that is what people will carry around to sleep on it, or to sleep on. This over here is a board game that is an ancient board game. I've watched kids play it all over the place. This is one that is transferable, but in the hills on the banks of the Limpopo River in the Kruger National Park, there's actually one of these carved into the rock of a rock massif close to an old and ancient village. And isn't that amazing? Then we've got all the way across there, let me turn over and show you there, we've got a hippo skull, which is split in half, and you can see how truly massive those canines really are, and those incisors, those peg-like incisors that they use to stab at one another, and use those slashing canines to hook up at opponents. Using their mouths. Their necks, in actual fact, are all just the muscles in their necks, all designed for that slashing upward motion that the hippo do. And none of those front teeth that you can see in any of those skulls over there, except for the row of molars. Let me see if I can get my finger there. There. Except for that row of molars are used for eating. That is used for eating. These are used for slashing, and those are used for puncturing and slashing at an opponent. Isn't that the most amazing thing? Eh? Now, what we can have a look at while we're busy waiting for James and Taylor is a thermal lion hunt. Now, we very kindly have the use of a camera from a company called FLIR, and they see in heat signatures. So what we're going to be doing is going over to a hunt that is now in progress with a FLIR camera, and have a look at this. Look at that. Isn't that the most amazing thing? There are some lions. You can quite obviously see the lions just running into the wildebeest herds. And I think what they're trying to do is look for the weakest of all of them. We've seen it quite a few times now in our nighttime hunts, where we have lions running into that mass of wildebeest. Today you saw the wildebeest with James and with Taylor, and you just saw the sheer number of them. To pick out a weak link, or to pick out something during that, in that chaos at night, would be very difficult. So what I think happens, and I'll discuss two different strategies here. I think the first and the most obvious strategy would just be to run into a herd of wildebeest and see what wildebeest shows signs of distress. The second one, and the one that I think is more successful, is to wait in the grass and wait and circle around the back of the wildebeest and have one of your friends chase the wildebeest towards you. We were watching Jamie the other night, and it was early in the morning. I think it must have been between about 11 and 1 o'clock in the morning. And Jamie was out, she was in the dark, and lions started to chase wildebeest towards her car, and she was watching a male lion. And in about 10 minutes, one male lion killed 7 wildebeest, full-grown wildebeest. He was jumping from one to another, and all he did was he lay down flat in the grass. He waited for the wildebeest to run towards him. And then with a sea of wildebeest, and I'm talking about thousands of wildebeest, in front of this male lion, he'd just pop up and jump on a wildebeest and tackle it to the ground in the pitch black. These wildebeest were running around all over the place. He'd then kill it, and he'd just move on to the next wildebeest. And he was just going wildebeest after wildebeest after wildebeest. In the end, Jamie had to leave the sighting because the wildebeest actually ran into a car. And can you believe it? And that was just too much. Being in the middle of some chaos like that, it's a stampede. You know, we've got open cars here. You've seen what these cars look like. And what could happen is a wildebeest jumps into the car. I doubt it. All right. Now, why don't we go and have a look at a wildebeest herd and see what we've got to offer you on that, and I'll see what I can show you. Oh, that is a nice shot. That is wildebeest from the hot air balloons. That is wildebeest from a car, and just have a look at them all coming towards you. Isn't that just fantastic? That is the brindled gnu, another helicopter here, what I'm saying, another balloon shot. These hot air balloons actually are just the most fantastic thing. There on the short grass plains around the Talek region, where Scott has been spending a lot of his time with that coalition of cheetah. Now, It's quite interesting, this Mara ecosystem, to be quite honest. We on the, how do I say, we are on the western side, and we're on top of an escarpment that's about 300 feet high, about 100 meters high off of the plain. It gradually slopes down to the Mara River, which is about 5 miles or so, 5 kilometers, 4 kilometers from here or so, and then it gradually goes up again into a series of rocky hills on the other side of the Mara Game Reserve. And there's a couple of rivers that come out of this game reserve, a couple of valleys that come out of that side of the game reserve, at least anyway, but that is where the wildebeest come in from, and come first too. And that particular area, I think, because of the underlying rocks, at least anyway, has a different type of grass. It responds very well to the not only to the direct sunlight that we have on the equator, but also the amount of rain that we have here. So there's a lot of good grass growth. But I think because the soil horizons are not as deep as on the alluvial plains that we have right here, the grass is more prone to overgrazing. And what happens is the grass goes down to very short, almost like a golf course lawn. You'll see it if you watch Scott. And James was there around there this morning. Scott is off on that side because those short grass plains are the favorite for Thompson's gazelle, and of course cheetah love Thompson's gazelle. But in the last picture of those wildebeest, what you did see was them standing on these very short grass plains, and that's what this is going to turn into in the end. When I first came to see the migration, it was in 2000 and I'm trying to think now. 2008 was the first time I came to see the migration. Absolutely astounded. But I came in behind the migration. I came into northern Tanzania in 2008, in September of 2008, and I ended up staying for 2 months to see what is happening. And we ended up traveling to the back end of the migration, which just so happened to be just on the other side here on the Tanzanian-Kenyan border. And I could see the herds, couldn't get into the herds, but I could see the herds. But traveling behind the herds was a vast amount of zebra, Thompson's gazelle, few wildebeest, massive amounts of hyena, massive amounts of cheetah. And I'm just wondering if now being in front of the herds, we're going to see the same thing this year. I'm told that it becomes, the herds, which are now quite diffused across the Masai Mara Game Reserve, start to coalesce and start to concentrate again as the food resources get lower. And then what happens is they all decide to move. So as soon as it starts to rain again further south, there's no more food left here, and they all move further south back into Tanzania, which, of course, on the plains, the Serengeti lava plains around Ndutu, which is where they're going to have their babies, there's a lot of grass growth that happens over there when there's a lot of rain in the area. And so basically what happens is that these wildebeest go from areas of feeding to other areas of feeding, and behind them trails this vast amount of animals. Now, a lot of people who come and visit this particular area think that when the migration goes, there's no more animals left here. Well, I can tell you one thing. Having been behind the migration for 2 months, and that ended in October, and there were still thousands, tens of thousands of animals in October, and having come to this area again in January, I can tell you and everyone out there that the myth that there's no animals here outside of the migration is absolutely false. The heads per hectare, which is how we judge what animal densities are here for large mammals, at least anyway, is way, way above what we find in the Kruger National Park. And now, of course, comes the question, what do we do? How do you compare the two? Are they similar? You know, if you're planning a holiday coming out here, you know, what would make you go to one place or another? And I think that the easy answer is there isn't actually. The Kruger National Park is much more diverse from a biodiversity point of view and a landscape point of view. It's a very long reserve, 400 kilometers long, whereas this particular reserve is wide and very different from east to west. The Kruger National Park is very different from north to south. But of course, Crows is a whole bunch of different ecozones, basically, and will change the animals that you see as you go from north to south. East to west, you're just changing, my opinion at least anyway, going across valleys. Now, we have prepared another clip for you. We've got a very special partnership with Governor's Balloon Safaris, which some of you may have joined us on. And one of the clips we're going to be showing you now is some footage that we've taken from Governor's Balloon Safaris.
The Masai Mara is one of the world's most evocative wildernesses. Floating above the river and plains at sunrise is an experience that feeds the soul. Hanging silent at the mercy of the wind, the extent of this natural wonder sprawls boundless in all directions. From the ceaseless twists of the Mara River to the verdant forests on its banks, then further to the red oak grass plains that support the abundant herds. From the air, the drama that is the Mara plays out on an epic scale. The bird's eye view shows the enduring will of prey. And the never-ending tenacity of predators. Life and death, captured from above.
Wasn't that the most amazing montage of clips about those balloon safaris? It is honestly one of the most special things that you can do out here. And you have access to areas of this particular reserve that you couldn't even walk to if you wanted to. But first we have to talk about the elephant in the room, which was that lion hunt that you saw. The zebra crossing the river, crocodile just missing the zebra making it up the bank, and then seeing that there were lions there and then moving away from those lions. Wasn't that just the most amazing hunt sequence that you've ever seen before in your life? For me, the most special thing about that particular hunt was the fact that the zebra felt the crocodile was there, kicked out and caught the crocodile, and then moved away from the crocodile. Crocodile, a bit stunned, didn't quite know what was going on. Zebra moved up, got to the top of the bank and realized that there were lionesses there. And what they immediately did was the zebra then angled away from the lionesses. And I don't know if you noticed, but the zebra ended up putting its rump to the lion, and every second or third step, while it was running, give this massively vicious kick out towards the lion. In the end, unfortunately, it didn't help the zebra whatsoever, and the lioness managed to do this rolling tackle on the zebra, and then another lioness came and joined. It was the end of that zebra, but it was a heroic effort from that zebra, and noteworthy. Its death would definitely go down as one of the most spectacular kills that I've ever seen in my life. But what you did see about that is the fact that you saw that there was a lot of forest that those balloons were going under. Now, that forest is one of the rarest forest types in this particular area. It's called oldwood forest and is made up of a collection of trees that really only grow on the alluvial plains around the Mara River. And with the Mara River snaking and winding its way through this environment, this is the last patch from where the river enters the Mara Reserve all the way to where it crosses out at the Tanzanian border. But before it gets to Serena, it's literally just 20 kilometers or so. This is the last patch of this forest that you find. Now, it's not uncommon for forests to come into and out of being. Of course it's not. On a geological time frame, deserts become forests, forests become ice caps, and ice caps become sand deserts again, all in the space of millions of years. And so it's not uncommon for forests to move. But in this particular area, we don't see that forest. You can get close to it with the road, but you can't get into it. And the only way to really see it is from the tops of those balloons. And isn't it just the most spectacular place to see? Just hippopods, when you're over it, you just see hippopods, catching a glimpse of the backs of elephant. Quite often we see leopard inside there, lots of nesting birds, all the vultures that you see in actual fact go and roost over there in the forest. It gives them some lift in the early mornings, and really the balloon safaris are the way that it goes. Governor's Balloon Safaris, incidentally, are the only balloon safari company that can go over the Mara, over those forests. It's got something to do with flight plans and all that sort of thing. And of course, they've been going over here for, I think, more than 30 years. And so it's one of the oldest balloon companies here as well. So a very nice partner to have, and I must say, I feel quite spoilt to be able to go on that balloon quite often. And we feel privileged and able to put a camera up there and share some of those views with you in any case. Now, it is raining outside, I must be honest with you. It is pouring over here on top of the studio and on top of the Angama, or close to Angama Mara, and on the Olololo escarpment where we are. It's probably very isolated. I mean, I could walk out here now and see stars shining above our head with the rain that's still pelting down. The rainfall here is just unbelievable. It's been a pretty hot day. I haven't been outside too much. This has been my cave for the day, albeit with one of the best views that is out here. And what we are doing is looking forward to a night of hunting once the rain stops and Taylor and James can get their rain covers off and get moving again. I'm sure that they're going to be filling us in with whatever they've got with these Facebook Lives. Now, I know the show's coming to an end. I'd just like to say thank you to everybody who made this possible, and of course to you, our viewers, who just carry on supporting us the way that you do. Thank you very much, wherever you are. Please have a fantastic evening, a fantastic day, and we'll catch up with you either on the Facebook Lives or on tomorrow morning Safari.